Let's go to Alyona Synenko now, who's the regional spokesperson for Africa at the International Committee of the Red Cross. She joins us now from Nairobi in Kenya. Really good to have you with us, Alyona. Ever since the fighting started almost 2 weeks ago now, we've been hearing updates from our reporters on the ground about how the humanitarian situation has deteriorated on the ground, particularly in Khartoum. Describe to us what it's like there right now in terms of the humanitarian needs.
The humanitarian situation in Khartoum, but also in other parts of the country affected by the fighting, like for example in Darfur, is dire. We are now counting dead people by the hundreds and wounded people by the thousands, and the number of civilian casualties is growing. And at the same time, the healthcare system in Sudan is collapsing. Almost 70% of the hospitals are no longer functioning, and those that are still trying to function, they are there without water, without electricity, running out of supplies. Many healthcare workers could not reach their place of work. So treating the increasing number of wounded people is extremely hard. And for us, the urgent priority is to be able to reach the hospitals and try to provide them the support that they need.
Yes, and there have been repeated calls for a humanitarian corridor to be set up to allow for access to things like medicines as well as food and clean water. From what you understand, from what you're hearing on the ground there, is that going to be more possible now that there is this truce in place?
We are watching the situation very, very closely and looking for the first opportunity to be able to send more supplies, to be able to send more people who can help set up this emergency response. As you might have heard, the past week has been extremely difficult for us with telecommunication networks that are down, and we were unable to reach many of our colleagues. Also some of the offices and warehouses that were looted. So it has been extremely difficult. Last week we managed to provide support to 2 hospitals in Darfur, but this is far, far from sufficient. So we are hoping and we are watching the situation, and we hope to be able to start the emergency response as soon as possible.
And Alyona, we know there is a growing number of people who are being displaced internally by the conflict. Many in Khartoum who've been lucky enough to escape have had to flee to other parts of the country, often without shelter at the other end. Can you explain to us what that situation is like? How are the displaced being helped right now?
The situation is dramatic, and we should not forget that even before this current round of fighting, Sudan was already a country that had over 1 million refugees, people that fled from neighboring countries that face their own security challenges, and also some 3 million displaced people, internally displaced people, most of them in Darfur. So now, of course, with this new round of fighting and this new round of displacement, it is extremely difficult. These people, until now, they have been on their own just because the security situation has been so extremely complex that it was impossible to set up a quick emergency response. And also for them, now it's so uncertain. They don't know whether they should try to cross the border. The situation in the bordering countries is also extremely difficult. They don't know whether they should stay, if the fighting will continue. So it is very difficult for all those families, even for those who managed to escape Khartoum to safer areas.
Okay, Alyona Synenko, we will have to leave it there, but the very best of luck with your work there on the ground in Sudan, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.